Hello everybody, and welcome to a City Skylines video. Today I'm going to be founding a city on this lovely map that I found from Overcharged Eggs YouTube channel, and I'm really excited to get things started off. So the first thing I'm going to do is connect up these two outside connections with a road that will soon be a highway, but of course we don't have highways unlocked yet, so I'll just have these come straight out and then maybe make this go a bit further. And this as well, if I can get it to the 180 degree. And just connect up these two roads, making sure this looks like nice and rounded. Now I'm gonna make our starting grid for our city. So the way I want to do this is have it just follow the coastline. It's pretty standard to have a grid based off of that, so I think an angle like this works pretty well, and I'm just going to build a grid based off of this. So I'm going to use almost all of our snapping tools and lay out some roads like this, and I'm going to want to make sure our grid size is consistent, so I think that a bit shorter like this should look good in terms of this depth. That's not the right depth there. Hang on. So that length of, what is it, 96.1 meters is what I'm aiming for. Oh. Hang on. I just want to make sure this is consistent. 96 meters. And now I'm going to think about the width, and I think something like this distance is pretty good. I like the way that looks. And that is 128 meters. So 96 by 128. I like the size of this grid. Double checking, that's 128. It's perfect. And I'm not sure why it's messing up this street. Doesn't seem to want to be the right length. Maybe we can. Very peculiar. Not sure why it's doing that. Maybe try this again. 128, 128. That's working much better. Can we get another segment out of 128? Yes. Perfect. If I connect this up. Beautiful. And connect all of these, filling in our gaps. And now this grid, as it stands, is pretty boring, so first I'm gonna make it go out one more level. So now I like the size of this grid, and I want to think about what we can do to make things just a little bit more interesting. So one thing I want to do immediately is make a couplet, remaking one of these roads to go down like this, and I'll make this one come out. And so these two one-way streets can converge into what will be like a highway connecting outwards. So we can do that just drawing a road out here. Oh, there's a plane going overhead. And then if we just have a road that comes out of the highway, and we can say make this bend in here, And then if I use the complex curve here, I think we can get a nice shape. And we don't have our advanced road tools yet, so we can't get rid of that, except for I think I'll add like a slip lane, and that gets rid of it automatically. And I think that works very nicely. And just because this couplet is so far out, I'm actually going to add even more to our starting grid. Alright, so what I want to do now is consider where I'm going to have some farmland zoned out. And so I'm going to use these gravel roads. They call them gravel. Gravel would probably be the same color as the concrete. I always think that's funny. I'm going to draw like a ring road to go around our city. Something like this. That looks nice. And have it connect through here. And use the curve again. Keep drawing things out like this. And I think that'll work for now. And we can use those roads to build some farms off of. And I'm even going to make some of these alleyway connections. Just to give us some room to expand. And I don't like this, how that looks. I'm going to see if I can try changing that. It's done the same thing up there. It might just be something I'm stuck with. Yep. And I'll even drag out a connection here and zone those up like that, and I think that looks very nice. And then on this side, I'll drag out this road here, connect it like that, and bring out just a couple more roads. And these roads aren't going to stick to our grid necessarily. Can drag this across here. Again, our zoning's not perfect, but I think that'll be alright. And I'll bring this road down here. And I think that this looks very nice. And so we can consider where we're going to zone our commercial and our farms soon. But I also want to consider what we're going to do with our industrial development in our city. And I think as far as industry is concerned, we can maybe keep it near our main highway so that a lot of that heavier traffic using the industry can maybe stay out of the way of our people. And I'm just going to build something along this corner here. And I'll use one of these small roads to drag something out here. And I'm not going to quite have it connect to the highway. I don't think so. Actually, I will, but I'm going to separate it so that these two intersections aren't super close to each other. I'm going to bring out this alleyway road here. And I think a nice, more organic grid like this could be a great look for our city. So I really like that, and I think we'll use that to get things started. So for things that we're going to need to place for our city services, I'm going to get us started off with a small water tower, which has that very cheap upkeep cost, and a sewage outlet that we need. And I'm going to connect this water tower just along this road that connects our city here. And I think that looks very nice. And it's automatically connected. Now this sewage outlet is going to be pretty close to where these people live, unfortunately, if we get these buildings zoned out as residential. And I'll connect up this sewage pipe, make sure it snaps, and there we go. And now we've got a power system to worry about. Our city doesn't have great wind, at least not in this location. It seems like maybe there might be further outside. So for now, since we don't have any of the other options unlocked except for this power plant, which could get pretty heavy into the upkeep cost, we could be losing $45,000 a month with the power plant, which is kind of a lot to be starting things off with. If you compare that to the water tower, that's $7,000. So that seems like it might just be too much to start off with right now. In terms of how we're gonna balance our budget. With that said, the cheaper end is on the 5,000, so I'm not sure how that's gonna pan out. But now that I'm talking about it, I am tempted to implement this power plant, because importing electricity can be quite as expensive as well. So maybe if we rethink our road system here. See, this is just a perfect size lot for the power plant. It's almost a sign we have to put it in here. And that's immediately going to get us our progression. So I'll close that for now. And I like the look of that. I think we can build around that very nicely. Now, before we lose too much money to that, I'll pause the game. And just connect up a power line here. Connect that to our outside connection, so maybe if we make some excess electricity, that doesn't cost us too much. And now that we've got all of that set up, I do think it is time to start zoning. So I'm gonna do that starting in our grid here. I'm gonna get some commercial going off of our couplet, and I'm going to try getting some residential moving outward. So I'm gonna start with just this USA style commercial, and I'm just gonna get it like a straight strip like this and hope that works out nicely, and if it doesn't, I'll come back and reshape some things. I'm gonna go ahead and press play because I want to get these houses into particular size slots, and I want them to be sort of like this. I want them to feel compact and close together because we're still in our core of our city, even though it's still a small town. And these buildings say they need water. And you know what it is our coal power plant is using too much water, so let me look at the water need here. So this coal power plant uses, I believe, exactly 15,000 cubic meters of water a month, and that's exactly how much our small water tower can provide. So I'm gonna upgrade this small water tower. I'm just gonna implement this USA Northeast water tower. It sort of has the same look as the water towers where I live, so I like the vibe of that, and I think that should fix our problems. And it does. Very nice. That is going to increase our costs, so before we get too far, I am going to go to my services on my budget page. The roads cost, I'm just going to drop down immediately. The electricity, I'm just going to drop down immediately. And the same thing for water, I'll leave alone right now because I know we need it to power the coal plant. So hopefully that can make it so that we're not losing too much. Obviously we're in the red, and that's kind of how things are going to start. But I'm going to continue to zone out in this residential. And I'm noticing that on these sides here, they're not zoning the way I would like them to. So I'm just going to delete them and hope they come back. in the right shape, and this might take a lot of attempts. So another option I have is I can actually come in, and if I purchase the advanced road services, I can come in and I can put a quay here, which will prevent zoning on that side of the building, or of the street. And if I delete these again, it'll zone out perfectly. And that's what I want. And I can come back and remove the quay. The building is still zoned, everything will work perfectly, and that won't be a problem. And now, because I also have this advanced road services, I do want to come in here, and I notice I have these traffic lights, and I don't think those are necessary, and I'm also going to get rid of those. There we go, get rid of those crosswalks. I don't really think that is necessary either. I'll leave this one here in case someone needs it for whatever reason. But I'm going to come back here and continue zoning. I'll get another strip for commercial. This will probably fulfill all of our commercial needs, and do some more residential. Just trying to stay to these small sizes. And I'm just going to avoid the edge for now. So what I think I'm going to do is on this other street here, on the other side of the couplet, because those residential buildings need a little bit more traffic capacity, I think keeping them central, these medium density buildings require more parking and whatnot, so I think keeping them near the couplet's good, and just making sure they use their full lot. And that should taper down the demand, hopefully pretty well, for the moment at least. And it looks like that's the case as they're zoning in slower. And I'm going to come over to our industrial district, and I'm going to zone out some over here. And just thinking about where I want these buildings to be, I think I'll leave some room around the power plant for the moment, and I'll just zone in some buildings like this. And I'm going to go for these smaller buildings because I want that warehouse look that they have. And I think that's going to look better for our city for the moment. And maybe a building like this that looks more like an office when it zones in. Obviously it's not office zoning. And I think that should reduce our demand pretty well. And I did say I wanted to get some farms around this road here, but as you can see, we've actually built it so in a way that there isn't really any good fertile ground here. And I don't want to use the livestock because that can actually cause quite a bit of pollutants. So I'm going to leave that be for the moment, and say that maybe this can just be eventually some sort of avenue that surrounds our town. Like a beltway that can hopefully reduce traffic if it comes to that. But we do have the medical clinic and death care to worry about. So for the moment, we don't have crematoriums unlocked, but I will place a medical clinic just along the commercial street. Makes sense. We have a few options. I'm just going to use the small medical clinic for the moment and plop that right here. And I think that looks really good anyways. And as our medium density demand arises, we can fill in these houses on the corners like that, and that looks really nice. And we can see the flow of traffic as people move in, and that is something we love to see as our city is growing. And our industrial buildings keep popping up over here. We can zone out just a few more, just to make sure people have places to work. And I want to see if I zone out right here, which direction that'll face. And it's going to face the lane. And I like that. I want it to face that lane instead of if this becomes our main highway. or a highway that passes through. Although I'm gonna leave it be for the moment. Maybe a barrier or a rail line could also work really nicely there. And I'm gonna place maybe like a bigger factory building that can go over here. And I think that's really good. And maybe some warehouse buildings or smaller buildings to go on this side of this road. Now I'll keep zoning some more residential as our demand increases. And we zone out one strip of residential houses and our demand plummets, so nothing to be worried about for the moment. I will go ahead and do the quay trick over here so that we can zone out these corners and not have to worry about them moving forward. And buildings aren't going to pop up quite yet. I'll do it again on this corner. But I think that'll work nicely. And I can come in over here to satisfy our medium density housing and do a similar thing that we did on the other side of this couplet street. And I think 4 back is a good size. And obviously not all of that's going to zone in. Well, maybe not obviously. A lot of it is coming in. Make sure we get our big lots again. And I like that. I think that just this pavement here, or the normal surfaces, is what I meant to say, sorry. And we can get something that maybe goes along like this. And I'm just going to do it like this for the moment. But I'll make it a square like that, and I think that's something that we can put like a rail line behind, and I'll even bring this out here. We can detail up over here with some props. And I think maybe the rail line coming through here would make sense, and we could have an extension that goes by the coal plant. I'm gonna set this little spot over here as something that I could detail as sort of an open lot. I think that type of shape is something that could be pretty cool to work with. And I could also use some parking lots in here, which I think would work really nicely. And I've got a landfill that I could build, but I don't think right here is perfect, seeing as how it would use a lot of land, and I'm not sure how it works with the edges, and we can keep importing that service for the moment, even though the service trade is not costing us anything right now, but we are paying a lot for service upkeep, so let's look at that, where that's coming from. And most of that is coming from electricity. So what we can do here is I'll probably just take this up. And hopefully that can help us get closer to being in the positive. And I'll even take this up. Put both of those at 120, and maybe that'll be pretty good for us. So I'll zone out just some more buildings over here. I think something like that might be nice, just having a whole strip. And I'll go ahead and put in some of those paths, or the surfaces, just extending this all the way down and not have it overlap with anything. And there we could think about a rail line coming through, which I think could work pretty nicely. Of course, we haven't unlocked any of that yet. But that'll be alright. We'll get it eventually. Um, once we get to the Grand Village. So that'll be exciting. And I just zoned out these 3x3s, so not quite the size of this, but still pretty small. And we've got a demand for death care hearses, and I'm not really sure if there's anything we can do about that right now because we don't have any development points. But that'll be the next thing I certainly think about getting for us. In the meantime, I will continue zoning. So we've reached our next milestone. That's exciting. Getting some signature buildings. And I'm just going to come in here. I want to get highways, but I've got to do what I've got to do. I'm going to unlock this crematorium so we can finally have some death care coming in towards our people and hopefully get this problem taken care of. And we could use the French crematorium, not what we're looking for. So I'm just going to place this, I think, back here might be a good spot. Maybe closer. Something like back here could be interesting. So I'm gonna come in here and just detail around the sides. Use this grass surface. So we get that look going around. And I'm also going to come in here, go for some potted plants that we can maybe use to detail, and use the line feature, border this right up against the road at 12 meters, and just straight across like that. And try the same thing. Just making sure it's at the right angle. Bringing it down as far and as straight as we can. And getting some trees. And I think these hickory trees could be nice. Gonna go ahead and turn on anarchy, and we'll use big trees. Just place them in, we don't need the line tool. I think that looks nice. It's our first little detailing project. Very simple. Just this crematorium. No upgrades to it yet. And I don't think we're going to need any for hopefully a little bit. However, maybe if it gets out of hand, we can get that. We've also unlocked schools. And that's definitely something I want to consider, but we're just really running in the deficit with our finances. So if I come back here, I don't think, yeah, I'm just going to push the healthcare all the way down, 50% of what it just was. And if I come into taxes, I'm also going to knock these up to 11%, which hopefully doesn't change anyone's valuing of their land. I'll even do industry to 12. Get those big corporations paying a bit more. And we are starting to see garbages piling up here, which does make me think it might be time for waste management with the landfill. And if I were to do that, I'm going to want to seriously think about how I want to implement that. Because it's a rather large asset. I don't want it to look out of place. But it might be time for that, so let's see what we can do. gonna pause this quickly and delete that, so that way if we come in here, we can bring this out at, it looks like it's a 90-degree angle. And connect that up. That should be fine. And now if I come in here, I'm gonna upgrade this road because I'm not gonna want our landfill on a larger road. Although we were saying we were gonna have our rail line run through here, so maybe that's not a good spot. Maybe around here could be good. Let's see. Of course, if we do go for this spot, we just moved our power lines for nothing, but I think we'll be alright. Let's see. And it is just barely sticking us out of our limits, and I think that even though it's sticking us out of our limits, we'll just turn on anarchy and it'll be alright. And I'll just place it right up against that road there. And I'll just leave it in this square for now. And that shouldn't be a problem. And coming back to our finances, it's going to be costing us a lot of money to get that. So we'll bring this waste management budget all the way down. And it shouldn't have too much demand, so that should be fine. And now I really do want to get some farmland going, which is something I mentioned earlier. I'm gonna do that moving out into this direction, as we actually have access to it over here. In this meadow, I guess. And yeah, I'll stick to some grain farming just to get us started off. And I'm going to build out, I got this main road going through here. I'll build a alleyway shooting out like this, and maybe one like this. So we begin to move up that hill, that's not a problem. And then I'll turn this into a gravel road, maybe add a bit of a curve for some flair, moving back to straight. And we can do a similar thing, maybe curving this way. And yeah, I think we'll leave it like that for the moment. And come into our zoning tool, and we can just place this. And I'm gonna want to surround our zones with roads before I zone it, and then I can get rid of those roads, I think, just to make sure everything looks nice. I think that'll be a good way to do that, just to keep it marked how we do this. So if I come back in here, I can reshape this. I'll just have this come all the way to this road. And maybe we can have this, we can do it freeform ourselves, and it won't look too bad. I'm gonna try following maybe this color generally. And we're getting to the edge of the map, so that's gonna be a bit awkward. But we could do something like this. Just having it reach downwards like that. I think that's a good shape. Looks good. Should be productive for us. And then on this side we can do something similar. Just something generally in the fertile land. Something like that. Coming over here. I'll bring this one all the way up against the road. And then really getting all of this fertile land that we can. And I think that our farms so far have some good shapes to them. And I'll just go ahead and do this last one. So that'll be fine how it is right now. That can be something we come back to and edit up, because it's obviously not detailed at all right now, but it should be pretty functional. Hopefully provide with some materials our industry can use, which should be nice. Our residential demand is increasing again, so I'm just gonna get that going. And we are really losing a lot of money, so I'm just gonna try getting this zoning going about as quick as I can. I really don't want to do too many of these medium densities though, so I'm gonna I haven't really brought anything down towards this waterfront. I'm gonna start doing that. The idea has been that's something that I'm gonna wanna maybe use these waterfront housing, but I also might want to do commercial, just seeing how the demand presents itself and trying to adhere to that. And it's looking like it'll probably be waterfront housing at the moment. I'm gonna do something over here that I hope looks pretty nice. If I use this other zone, and ooh, that coal power plant is loud. Oh, there's a progression. I'll close that for the moment, and I'm gonna bring this out maybe like that, and try keeping this straight along the edge of the coal power plant. And so we can use this generally as a, oh, did not mean to just completely get rid of that. Alright, well if I redo this, bring that down. And we can use something like this as our general guideline for where we can have a rail line come in for the coal plant and then one come through here and turn, I think, in here and come behind. I think that'll look really nice. So I like how this is panning out right now. And I think we can go ahead and use our progression points. We've got some options. I don't think we need anything in police, fire, or education for the moment. I'm gonna hold off on this. So I'm gonna move into the roads, and I am gonna go ahead and unlock highways. And I'm gonna unlock parking. So what I'm gonna do is, the first thing I really want to do is go ahead and upgrade this road that comes through. Because really this should be a highway and continue with our outside connections. And it's not straight. Let me try and fix that. Grabbing this. And that looks better. and it should line up over here, and it does. So I really like that. Our landfill is really piling up quickly. So that is unfortunate, but I don't really think there's anything I can do about it for the moment. But we are seeing we're having crime and fire are things that we might have to address, which is unfortunate because, again, we're still running in that big deficit. So we have to think about how we're going to deal with this, because building a police station or a fire station could really be costly. But I think it's something that might just be unavoidable at the moment. So I'm going to come in here and I'm actually going to demolish some buildings. But I'm going to place the police station like this. And come in with our fire station and put it in like this. I think that's good like that. I accidentally had anarchy on while I was doing that, so let me just come through and... oh boy. There we go. Got all of those buildings, and I like how these look next to each other. I think that's pretty nice. And again, coming into our services, fire and rescue all the way down. Police all the way down. And hope that doesn't cause too many problems financially for us. Obviously that should cover all of our needs, seeing how little we need out of them right now, just the one incident. And I think that fits in pretty well, hopefully, with these row homes we've got that we've zoned in. But I'm going to get to the waterfront area, and I'm going to use the low density waterfront houses. And I'm going to do, I think, 3 by 4. And I'm gonna keep them pretty compact. They're obviously bigger lots than we've been using, but this should be pretty good. And I've got all of these coming in, and they should be pretty nice and get some more people moving into our city. And I'll even come through here and again do the same trick we've been doing with the quays. I won't need it there, but I got it on both sides of this and just zone up there. And they're immediately coming in. And I think that's really nice. Over here, I think we'll do the same zoning, but we'll use these beachfront, waterfront houses. I'm not sure if there's any functional difference in the game as far as these are concerned. And we could do some houses that maybe face this couplet. I think could be interesting. But I don't think we will. I think doing it this way should probably be best for traffic, considering that this is kind of a main road, and these would zone that way. Hopefully I can just play whack-a-mole with them. Come on. Eventually. No. Alright. Problem solved. And again over here. Problem solved. Perfect. just keep these coming in. Here I'm gonna do this. Just because these houses that are on this block between the couplet roads, maybe they can get a bit of space from the couplet. But then here I'll do it normal, the way I've been doing. And our demand is plummeted again, so that'll have to do how it is. And the demand is back, so come in, quay, rezone, and we can get rid of the quays. And we can come in on this street, place a quay, beachfront housing, remove the quay, we're all good. In here between the couplet, right next to the medical clinic isn't necessarily a great spot for houses. So I think I'm gonna leave this whole block here for commercial, probably commercial uses, which I think will be alright. Whoop. And we've unlocked the mining industry. We've had this for a while. But I think that this might be cool to add something like this. And I think that might give us some good functionality. Looks pretty interesting. Maybe we can come in here, and if we get the shift terrain tool, make that brush size small, and we can be a bit stronger than that. Oh, is it not gonna want to move? Oh. I'm using the level terrain tool. That's why it wasn't working. If we move it down, wow, that was really strong. I'm gonna grab something at like this height. And now, of course, there we go. Can move that down and maybe use the soften, because we've got some interesting shadows. Get something like that. I think that looks decent. Maybe we can come in and work on it at a later point, make it look better, but I think that'll do for the moment. Maybe that can help with our supply chain. We really are losing a lot of money though. So let's zone out some more housing. And I'm gonna do something like this. And I didn't really think about this, but they are different sizes because they're the thinner roads, but I think it works pretty well like this. Maybe a bit bigger houses further out. Just a tiny bit. And we've unlocked the new signature bookshop. I think that comes with a Chinese region pack, so cool building. Don't really think we need it right now. But the demand for some more row homes is just still going up, so we're gonna have to figure out a way that we can deal with that, and hopefully it can provide some more tax revenue. So I'm gonna think about this. I'm gonna remove these quays here. and add some quays here. And I'll zone these. And think, what is my best option for getting some more medium density housing? Because right now we are just not meeting our demand. I think maybe we can go ahead and fill in a lot like this. Right here could be a good spot. Just for a little bit. And we'll use the standard ones we've been using. Get rid of this little one. And I'm now really considering using some row homes here maybe. What I could do is get row homes facing this direction. And hope those fill in at even lengths. There we go. And maybe save this for a commercial spot. Or maybe that could be row homes also. We don't have a demand, so I'll leave it for now. And just looking at what services are costing us, the electricity is a ton already. We're making a little bit from exporting, a little bit from fees, but really just nothing is coming to meet our demand, how much it's costing us. But I do think that if I turn this price all the way up, that's going to turn this way up. But hopefully if we export more, if we're profiting off of that, that could be good. So I'm going to let it simulate for a little bit. And so, yeah, that export price just went up. I'm not sure if that's actually helping us or not. I wasn't paying close. Whoa. Okay, that should be helping us. It just moved up to 43,000. Still down 89,000. So, yeah, we've still got to find some way to be turning a profit, which we're not getting quite yet. I don't really want to turn up our taxes too much, because, I don't know, I feel like that's not the right move. So, maybe we just need to wait for some more opportunity to expand. I will change this road to be two like that. I think that'll be good. And then we can also add, I think that's good right now. I think over here is fine. So our commercial demand's coming back, and that's good. Can fill in this slot that I've been waiting a while to do that with. Now what are we having? Ooh, we're completely full. So let's see if we, oh, not relocate, but if we area tool and anarchy, we can expand this just a little bit outside of our boundaries. And that'll give us enough space for the moment. And I'll leave that for now. That's a problem for later, I think. But I do think over here where we've got our farms, we could set up a little residential area. Maybe, I'm not sure how we'll set this up though, so we'll see what we can do. Maybe just get like a grid for like just a tiny little town. That's what I'm thinking. If we turn on our topography lines, it's obviously a slope, but it's pretty smooth. I think I'll have a road come here, and we can call that like our main road, main street. And curve like this. And then we'll use like small alleys. And do something like this. And just really small grid lengths. I think that looks really nice. And now we can think about connecting this to this road here. Which we're not going to need both of these to connect, so I think I'll just turn this into a bigger road like that, and maybe we can upgrade this. There we go. And have this, if we move it down, and maybe we can have it do a complex curve. Come in like that. And delete that. I'm not sure I like that, so maybe if we do this. And maybe we just curve it in over here. I think that looks good. Which means we can bring this road, we'll bring it like this, potentially. And just really straighten things out here. And now we could set up a little town around this center. And have our second town on our map, which I think could be a good advancement to be making. So if we just get a few more alleyways. And this one maybe can be a bit more freeform, maybe not freeform, but dynamic than our previous grid. Something like this. And just for the moment, these roads don't all make sense, but that's alright. And I think bring this road out. I think this looks nice, and we can zone up over here. So I think just like this corner can maybe be commercial at some point, but for now we'll leave it alone. We'll just use this USA medium density row homes again. And these are just like really small plots where people can move in, but I think it's going to look really nice. And I really don't think this slope is going to be too much. But I will bulldoze these farms for the moment. So we can reconsider how we want to fit them into the area. Maybe center them around this town a bit better. I'm also going to redo these roads here. Didn't quite make sense for them to be set up the way they were. So I think I'll bring that out. Just bring this around. I think a curve like that works pretty nicely. And we can zone in some more industry along here. And maybe through here. I think that looks nice. And we've completely dealt with our residential demand about. So that's good. So I think this can be a spot that will place a new grain farm, and it's going to be really small, but I think it'll work really nicely. Turn off anarchy. Get it to follow this road. And just bring it all the way to the corner. I think that looks, I mean, it's smaller, but I think it looks nicer than how we had it set up before. And I like the idea of it all being closer to this town center. And I think two towns on the either side of this industrial bit here makes sense. I think this gravel road here we can upgrade. I rather like how I have these farms set up here. I'm still losing a lot of money. Really something to think about how I'm gonna handle this. I guess I'll increase taxes a little bit. Hopefully that doesn't cause us any problems. Immediately we get our balance about $6,000 closer in the direction we want it to be. Another, maybe it makes a bit of a difference. We do get a new milestone, which is great. and it's one where we get parks and public transit, which is really good because the last previous milestone was police and fire, and before that we had healthcare. So basically what those milestones are doing is saying, here's more work you have to do to make sure those get dealt with. But now we don't have to deal with those. We don't have to deal with public transit or parks. They obviously make life better for our people, but not exactly a priority at the moment. So won't happen yet. Maybe a few small parks that don't cost a lot. Public transit, really not going to do anything. And I don't really see anywhere else where I think we need to purchase something for the moment. So I'm going to go ahead and get trains. Not that we need it, but I do think getting the infrastructure in over here where we were detailing might be nice. There aren't any outside connections, at least not through this plot. Over here there is. So I'm not going to deal with that, but just like maybe place some stuff in. Obviously not high priority. And we can also get some office buildings in, which is something I want to do. Because those can provide a lot of income for our city, hopefully. And speaking of, I'm just going to go ahead and preemptively increase our taxes on the offices. And we also unlocked, I think the low rent housing. Yeah. So that will also be good. I think those are pretty good for tax revenue. Maybe don't necessarily fit the vibe of either of our towns that we've got so far. But we'll see what we can do. Just completely forgetting what size offices we'll send. Is that I want it to be a fairly large office. I mean, 3x5 will clearly work since that's already been done. Except for it's gonna be annoying. Like, are you kidding me? Why don't you oh. Is that... Okay. There we go. So that should be good. That completely plummets our office demand immediately. But I'm gonna go ahead and do these train tracks that I wanted to get going. And I'm gonna turn off all of our snappings and get a line and turn on anarchy just so we don't get rid of any of these buildings by accident. And if we get something that looks like this going across. So it's overlapping with these buildings, but it doesn't look bad at all. And then this building's kind of in the way of where I want it to go, so I'm going to de-zone that. And here, I'm going to get rid of this for a second. Just a second longer. And try and redoing this with snapping. Maybe try getting it a straighter line and then using move it. I'll bring it over. Oof. I'm not sure how this is gonna work. Oh. Gotta make sure I have each of those connections. I knew something looked wrong. That looks good, I think. So I'll take that. And we want to run this last bit. I'm gonna use the one rail, two-way tool. And do something like this. And I like that. I like how that looks. And then I'm gonna use the same bit coming through here like this. And then, whoops. Let's try that again. Made it a bit longer than I meant to. Do something like that. And then just connect it through here like that. And then I'll just move it. I'm gonna try sliding it over. Nice. And I really like how that looks. Super simple, super unnecessary. Maybe slide this back. Maybe grab both of these. Slide it this way. For no real reason. Just maybe rounding this out. You can see a bit of the ground detailing I've done there. The bit that comes out further. I like that. We've got some crime going on. That's not really a problem. And then if I come in here, I'll just extend this for the moment, like so. And just so we don't have to see that the end of the line is there, we can use the two-way again. Yeah, I think that's nice. Just for some rail infrastructure to make it look a little better. We need a healthcare worker out there. Man, crime's going on. Hearses. City is growing. More things need to be done. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna zone this out more. Let's see. Can do some of these. And how are those? That's all fine. I want this to be 2, hopefully. Go ahead and just cut that out for the moment. And now we can put it back in. Nice. And then one last strip here. There we go. Nice. Now earlier I also got us parking lots, and I want to go ahead and use those in our industrial area. So I'm gonna grab, I think this small parking lot could look good here. And then maybe use another one in this spot. Maybe even, let's put that there, and they're overlapping. I'm gonna move this to over here. And I think that's good. I like that. And man, are we getting some serious traffic going on. So it might be about time we do something about this interchange here. think. One thing I'm immediately thinking is an option is just like a roundabout, which could be nice. Just a little one. Hopefully that speeds things along. Actually not sure why the traffic piled up like that, because it's completely gone now. Gonna zone in these houses like this, and we'll do a bit of a bigger one and another bit of a bigger one. Now I do want to come into our original town. I think we could do some upzoning. So these spots here, I'm gonna remove those and unzone it. And I'm gonna use a low rent housing building like this, and then I'll leave some open spaces that maybe we can do a park in one and a parking in the other, like that. That should be nice. Also, I've been noticing these. I'm not sure what they are. If anyone knows, you can let me know. Thank you. But then I'm also gonna do just normal medium density here and here. And it's not gonna use the whole plot. That's fine. Maybe a bit more than that though, actually. Right? Is that not gonna be possible? Your buddy over here did it. I'm also considering maybe we switch things up and do the USA Northeast. Not sure what that is, but there we go. And again, we can incorporate some parks or something. And then over here, I'll leave it how it is for now. But I'll come in over here. We've got our small parks. And in order to place this park here, I'm gonna do something like this. It's not quite straight. Not sure if I'll get it perfect. I think that, yeah, that looks good actually. So I'll just do that, and then we'll get a parking lot here, because this seems like it might get treacherous in terms of parking. what I decided to do is just use a small, tiny parking lot and place that out there. And then maybe we can fit in something like this. Parquet and parquet. I think that looks nice. So that could do for now. On the other side of this park, what I'm gonna do is come in here and just edit this. Whoops. And bring it down. Bring this down. Do something like this maybe. I think that looks decent. And then if we go back, can grab the grass and just bring everything to the edges. So there's not like a bunch of empty space. And oh God, do it like this. Okay, so that wanted to cause problems. There we go, that park looks pretty good if you ask me. Parking looks pretty good. I like these buildings, they're not too tall. And I'll go ahead and place in some more. And now what I want to do back here in terms of parking, I think that should still be prioritized for the moment. If we can afford it, which it's not really seeming like we'll be able to. So maybe we just leave it for now. Which will be alright. Yeah. Maybe we can even, let's do something like bring this alley through here. Like that. Could be neat. And use these. Gonna place in some parking here like this and use up just about all of our money, but we'll call that good. And I'll even try to relocate this, which will cost me 500, but that's fine. And I think we're at a pretty good stopping point, so I'm gonna call that a video. And hopefully we can make more progress soon.